Okay. Yeah. Hi everyone. Welcome everyone. I think it's a good evening. So welcome everyone. I hope that you already have your dinner, or if you haven't, then maybe you can have your dinner with you right now as well lah. But make sure that you're also paying attention, because it will be a very important space for Isaac in Malaysia tonight, and then it also a very important night for everyone of you lah, especially the people who are actually running for LVB, and LVB is also one of the Isaac in Malaysia product that most of all of the LC is running, right? Yeah. So yeah. So I think today this page itself is called Malaysian Youth Volunteer Relaunching. So it will be a program that it become an advanced program, okay, from LVV. So later on, you will know the entire process, like how are we going to launch this product together with the Isaac in Malaysia membership, okay? All right. So without further ado, let's just look into the today what are we covering in this space. So basically in the first part, I will talk about introduction, which is this agenda, like what we will be covering, and then also the expectation that you should that you can have that you can look forward towards the end until the end of this session itself. And then we will talk about business model and value propositions of this program. And then also we will talk about the pricing, where we will launch the latest pricing to every one of you regarding what is this program about, and also the requirement of this program. And then last but not least, we will talk more about hybrid project model, and then we will have the space itself to talk about consultancy and also FAQs as well. Okay, so without further ado, so let's start. So before we start, just the expectation settings to every one of you is that today this launching space itself, it will serve as an internal launching to Isaac in Malaysia current membership who is running the operation of local virtual volunteer. So if you join today, I think you are very familiar with LVV, right? Because all of you are actually running LVV, okay? So the information of this launching space itself is to ensure the membership is keep updated with the latest change management and also the direction of Isaac in Malaysia in upcoming summer 2022. So today, whatever we have downscale, it will be the change management that happen in upcoming summer 2022 lah, when you start to plan for the summer operations and also summer project for IGV as well. Okay, so just to make sure that you are clear with what is this objective of this session. Okay, so with that, let's go to the very first part regarding how does the entire change management happen. So I believe that your team leader might also tell you that, okay, we are looking to have some physical activities in upcoming summer peak, which is we are looking into hybrid volunteer. But before we go into making a decision on whether from virtual volunteer to hybrid volunteer, so what should be the decision process and also the thought process that that we need to have in order for us to make a decision on what kind of volunteering mode that Isaac in Malaysia is going to implement in upcoming summer peak, right? So this is the entire decision process. We make it very simplified for every one of you to understand. So at first, if you still remember, maybe you are OGV or maybe you are from IGV, then you might be familiar that we are actually launching some survey form to the youth or to our NCR partner regarding how do they perceive on physical activities, or do they prefer to have hybrid volunteer, and also their current behavior and preference as well. So with the output that we have, and then we all have like to identify the risks that might happen, or let's say if you are going to have physical activity, especially in this period of time, we have a lot of COVID-19 uncertainty. So we look into that and then to plan out the potential risks that might happen, let's say if you are going to have physical activity. And then with that, we come out with the plan that we can mitigate the risk, and then to try our best to minimize the risk. We come out with different kind of solutions. Let's say if all these risks happen, and then with the risk assessment output that we have, right? So we look into scenarios mapping as well, that we look into what in different kind of like uncertainties, where we choose the uncertainties that we are unable to control, which is the rate of community spread and also the government restrictions and guidelines, to map out on what kind of situation that we will be in what kind of mode of volunteering. So for example, how how we define the uncertainties. We look into the impact that will bring to our operations. So basically, rate of community spread and also government guidelines is something that we cannot control. So we based on these two uncertainties to map out different kind of scenario, and then we look into the scenarios that we are currently having, and then for us to plan out the decision factors, which is the factors that will lead us to make a decision. So the decision factors that we have basically is like customer preference based on the output that we have, and also the COVID-19 uncertainty, and also the cost of operation mode, and we lead to the final decision that we have made. So in detail, you can later on when you receive this slide, right, you can go into the link to actually read the entire output. So with that, the final decision for upcoming summer peak, like what will be the change that happen is that virtual volunteer will be remain as the main mode of volunteering for all of the LCs, which means that currently we have LVV program, right? So it will remain as the main mode of volunteering based on all the factors that we have considered, the risk, and also the customer preferences and different kind of scenario mappings. That virtual volunteer is still remain as the main mode that ASEAN Malaysia want to drive. And also but then we are also allowing hybrid volunteer to happen, which will be a piloting operation, which will be something that we are going to test in upcoming summer peak to see whether are we able to go into hybrid mode or not. So the suggested LCs that actually we are looking for to run a hybrid volunteer will be the LCs that having more stable cash reserve, because when we are making a decision, one of the decision factors that we make is on the cost of operation as well as in physical. So we are looking into LCs that have more stable financial situation to actually pilot this hybrid volunteer operation. Yeah, so this is the final decision that we have made, and this is also the change that is going to happen. So yeah, I hope that you also excited that let's say if your LC or your SUs are going to have are going to pilot this hybrid volunteer program. Okay, yeah. So with that, right, okay, so this is the final decision. So with that, we are going to launch this entire program booklet, and also this entire program, like how does it going to look like, because it will consider it is a big program that have different mode, which is virtual and hybrid volunteer, right? So with that, we will go into the hybrid no, it's a Malaysian Youth Volunteer Program booklet. Okay, so yeah, let me just share. Yeah, you can send. Okay, we have our Celine, which is see we have. I will send the slide to every one of you. Yeah, so this Malaysian Youth Volunteer is the latest name. Yeah, it's a latest name of our volunteering program. So we no longer have LVV, but we will name it as a Malaysian Youth Volunteer lah. Yeah, everyone can start to memorize what is this new product called. Okay, so it's called Malaysian Youth Volunteer. We rename already. Okay, yeah, so you can start to remember. Okay, so with that, we are going to look into the business model. How does it look like what is the key value propositions, and then what kind of why does this program exist, and then what kind of things that we are delivering to our customers as well. Okay, so yeah, so basically this program itself minimums it will remain as 4 weeks and 28 which is 28 days of realization duration, and then the working hours itself is 10 to 15 hours per week. And then with the latest changes that we will have two options, which is virtual and also hybrid. What does hybrid means? Which is combination of physical and virtual activities. And then the volunteering team itself, it does not change. We are still running social project design for impact targeted on SDG, and then we will have international youth engagement initiative, and also how we develop youth leadership is through Isaac's leadership development model. So if you look into this one, you might find it familiar because it is also the LVV program that we are running right now, right? So the only change that we have currently is only on the mode of volunteering, but other than that, everything is still remain the same. So with that, right, so looking into the business model itself, everything is still remain the same, but we do have a certain things that we add on inside as well. So looking into this part, let's look into the value proposition, where why this program exists. Basically is first thing, we wish to expand network and building meaningful connections with like-minded youth and organization to both youth and and organizations as well. Organization means the different kind of partner that you have, and to create local impact, and also to develop leadership for youth as well. And then specifically for youth is to build up the interpersonal skills development in local and international environment. And then for organization wise is that collaborate with youth to create social impact and also branding and publicity. So with the value proposition that we have, like this is the values that we are delivering for both youth and organizations, which is company or organization. So with that, right, so who are actually our customers? So you can look at the customer segments where the youth that we are targeting is 18 to 30 years old, but specifically targeting pre-uni and first and second year students, university students, 18 to 22 years old in Malaysia, including international students that is studying in Malaysia as well. And then looking into organizations or company. So financial partner, we are looking for SME, and then learning partner or opportunity provider will be NGOs or social enterprise that working on SDG. So if you look into customer segments, actually it does not change. It's just that we are making it more concrete and also more easier for everyone of you to understand. So looking into customer relationship, like how are we building a customer relations with our customers. So for youth is still customer service that we deliver to them, and then we will have a manager and buddy system, and also we have youth community as well. And then with partner, we do co-creation of deliverables with them and also consistent engagement with them throughout the partnership as well. And then the channels that we engage with our customer is still the same digital channels, word of mouth, and also event itself. And then looking into key activities, right? So this is the part that we have a little bit changes in our business model. So we have B2C and B2B sales and marketing, which is a lot of you are still are currently doing in LC's level as well. And then for project management part, so we have two kind of mode, right? So definitely we will have two kind of like project management, which is hybrid project management and so virtual management. And also we have partner and youth standards that in order for us to make sure that we deliver the value proposition that we stated here, and PR, workshop, and digital campaign as well. And then for youth part, we also have training and facilitation sessions and IYE. And then for company or organizations, we have employee engagement for them. So these are the latest key activities. If you look into comparing the LVB business model that we have back then, the key activity itself, it includes the latest kind of activities that we deliver to our customer in order to make sure that our customer actually able to experience the value proposition. And then in order to make this program happen, we have partners that coming from university, media, NGOs, government, corporations, schools, and centers that have B40 community. And then looking into the key resources that we have, definitely also the brand that Isaac have, which we are also the biggest youth-run leadership development organization internationally, and we have partner to support, and definitely our members to make this program happen, and also all the hosting platforms that we have. So with this program, right, definitely we will have money that we are going to spend in order to make sure these activities or even value proposition happen. So looking into the cost structure and also a revenue stream, it will also let you to be clearer that define that how are we going to develop our pricing, because our pricing itself will also include the cost structures. And also with this program, in order for us to know that, okay, how can we sustain our organization and also make sure that this program able to continue in upcoming pay, is also on the revenue streams coming from youth, coming from partners, coming from and also you'll have FP or corporate sponsorships. Okay, so this is the latest business model that we are launching today. So it will be the finalized one that we let every one of you to know lah. So for membership itself, I think this business model itself is very important for you to understand why do this program exists today in in Malaysia, and also for you to know that, okay, what are the minimum thing that we actually deliver to our customers. Okay, so with that, I think I will pass to Julie to brief you about so with this MYV itself, right? So what will be the benefits that the youth join, and or even for the partners to join in our program. Yeah, so Julie.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think basically it will not change much comparing to the version of value proposition we have for low virtual what is that, LBV. Yeah. So I think, but the thing that I want to highlight here, right, is about the local and global networking. Yeah, because I think it's come from one of the input from the youth survey is that I think around 70% of them mentioned that when it comes back to physical life, right, then the most concerning thing of the youth is that how they can socialize with the people in the physical context. Yeah. Oh, sorry, my family is watching some funny stuff. Yeah, so yeah, so I think how say, yeah, so the thing that I want to emphasize here more, and also the thing that we can say more consistently to the youth, right, is that they will when it comes to the volunteer opportunity in Isaac, then they will have the opportunity to expand the network and also build their own interpersonal skill. Yeah, so that's how they can adapt to the physical life after pandemic. Yeah. And then the two things remain the same is develop yourself and also create a positive impact to Malaysia. Yeah, which is the thing that we always want to deliver to them through our volunteer opportunity. Yeah, so I think that's all for my part. Pass back to EJ.
Okay, so I think we will continue to have what will be the benefits that we deliver for organizations. Yeah.
Hello everyone, so it's Eugene here speaking, not EJ. Yeah, even though screen right, EJ. Okay, so I think just like what Julie mentioned, right? Actually, the value proposition is actually similar lah. It's just that this time we have both virtual and hybrid. The medium is different, but then the essence of our core is still the same lah. So I think just the first title here, bringing quality volunteers across Malaysia to make local impact within your community by organizing a project with Isaac lah. Yeah, so basically, like if our partners are interested to make local impact, especially with quality youth, then they can definitely find us to create a project. So the first value proposition is that our project is also designed based on the SDG. So if they really wish that their own respective community or the community that they wish to target can really develop sustainably according to SDG goals and create more impact, then they can definitely run a project with us because we are directly contributing to it lah. Then the next one is also access to quality youth with ease. Yeah, so our side is also making the sourcing of passionate youth who wish to create positive impact easier for their social project because we have the youth network. Yeah, so we are a youth leadership organization. And the last one is definitely the services that we provide, which is the Isaac support. So we consistently engage our stakeholders to ensure alignment support is done so that we can have quality experience among all of our stakeholders, both youth and partner. And from our side, we also facilitate the youth side during the project experience, help with their development, their personal professional leadership, so that they can maximize the impact they create with our partners also. Yeah, I think that's all from my side. I'll pass it back to EJ.
Okay, yeah, so very interesting, right? So all these benefits, yeah, is also what you have told your LVBs that you have right now. But I hope that with that, it will serve as a refresh for every one of you, to keep this program excited and also interesting as well in upcoming peak. Okay, so with that, right, yeah, with that, the most interesting part is also the most excited part, which is also the program fee. So with that, right, just now we talk about business model, like how much that we charge, what is the things that we are going to spend in order to make this program happen, but also looking into like how can we make sure that we have enough resources in order for us to deliver the experience for our youth and also for our partners itself, right? So with that, I will pass to our MCVPFL Celine to talk about program fee lah. So yeah, I will.
Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. So I think over here definitely is just to highlight a little bit on the program fee. So you can see we have two modes right now, which is on both virtual mode as well as hybrid mode, right? So you can see over here the condition is also stated that for virtual, I think it will just be just as similar to how we currently run LVV, which is like volunteer will experience fully 100% virtual activities throughout their entire volunteering period. And then over here, the prices is still the same, which is for the volunteers, we will charge 100 ringgit. And then if for those LCs that are actually running NCR projects, then definitely you guys will have also OP, right? So I think over here is still the same, where for each of the opportunity provider, we will charge based on the per open part, which is on 150 ringgit itself. So this one is remain the same as LVV, just we make it as virtual mode kind of MYV program fee itself, then definitely you guys would like to know more a little bit about hybrid mode, right? Because it's something new. So I think the condition over here is just as similar to what EJ mentioned earlier on, is that our volunteers will actually experience a combination of both physical and virtual activities throughout their entire 4 weeks of volunteering. And then over here, you can see the changes and as well as the difference in the price actually is we will charge 200 per volunteer when it is in hybrid mode, meaning that when you are running hybrid, then this will be your volunteer fee itself, right? So I think this goes by saying if you are running NCR project in hybrid mode, then there will also be changes on the OP fee, which is it will change to 300 per open. So actually, if for those who actually run physical LV before, then you can actually see the price is actually the same. So I think I need EJ's help to actually go to the business model slide. Sorry, sorry for the technical error. The distribution. Okay, yeah. So I think definitely over here we can also see the breakdown of how we come up with 100 ringgit, 150, right? So over here you can see this is for virtual mode. Then everything stays the same as our current LVV model itself. So you can see mainly for youth part, the how we actually distribute the 100 ringgit is mainly on you can see volunteer servicing, which is our LVV standards. For now, it will change to just virtual standards itself, and then also platform package for the part where we use Zoom, and then we also use certain like virtual platform, then this will also be part under here. And then sales and marketing is definitely looking into when you are running attraction or even consideration peak, then there are certain fees or even discounts that you would like to give, then it will be also here. And then administration or even HR cost is more on the manpower that we actually put in, such as like facilitation charges, and then we also have OC team, etc. Right? Then partner engagement is more on when we engage with partners. Take for example, we have co-polling, we have physical meetups with the partners, etc. Then definitely there are some certain overhead costs itself or internal costs that we actually have incurred when we are engaging partners, not only for FP but also for like learning partners as well as even opportunity partners, say for example, that because those are all our external stakeholders when we engage with engage in order to make our program a little bit better. Yeah, then definitely reserve part is looking into contingency plans over here. We also allocate a 10%. So overall, you can see the breakdown on the percentage, and then it contributes to 100 ringgit per volunteer. Yeah, so this is the distribution model itself. And then while sorry, can go out. Yeah, so while for the opportunity provider, I think this is more towards like our OP partner itself. So you can see we actually have HR, and then also on standard delivery, which is on towards the partner side, and then sales and marketing as well as reserve. So this eventually also contributes to 150 per open itself. So I think for those who would like to know more detailed information about how we come up with the pricing development so far, you can actually click the bottom right part. There's also a link on how the pricing is being developed, especially in hybrid mode. Yeah, so can directly go to the next slide, which is on the hybrid mode. So over here, you can see it's actually on the entire distribution model itself, where we see that we still have similar distribution on sales and marketing, and then also on the volunteer standards itself throughout the entire project from pre to during to post realization. Administration will be more on the manpower HR cost itself, and then entity affiliation fee will be more on the part that we also incur for our LC development, for our LC visit, etc. All that, right? So our reserve is also on contingency. So overall, this actually contributes to 500 for hybrid mode. So how does this 500 being distributed is actually on 200 per volunteer, and then also OPP will be 300 per open wise. Yeah, so looking into next, it will just be the distribution on hybrid mode for both volunteer as well as on the partners. Yeah, so can go to the next slide. Yeah, so over here you can see how it was being distributed overall. For hybrid mode for you, basically we allocate 10% for sales and marketing, and then volunteer servicing will be more on the standard itself. Administration will be more on saying how do we facilitate the entire experience, also how do we come up with the project management extra, and then entity affiliation fee, and then also on the reserve part. Yeah, so that will be for the youth distribution model. And then while for for opportunity provider, if you are running NCR, then it will also be on the sales and marketing, the standards delivery towards our partner, and then administration, because most of the things is on the coordination as well as the facilitation, and then also on the reserve. So this is how actually the distribution will work based on the lump sum amount of hybrid mode as well. Yeah, so definitely over here, just to highlight again that this 200 as well as this 300 ringgit towards our volunteer as well as our OPP is actually excluding accommodation as well as transportation. So I think I'll need DJ's help to go back to the main slide. Yeah. Okay. So definitely, I think over here is just on the pricing again to show you guys about how virtual mode pricing will be like as well as hybrid mode. So like as I said just now, right? So if we are looking into hybrid mode, then definitely we also have to provide certain services such as for the accommodation, such as for the transportation wise, because for physical activities, definitely our volunteers need some place to stay as well as also they need to travel from one place to another place, right? So going to the next slide, just to take note about the logistics range over here, which will be excluded from the volunteer fee as well as from the OP fee itself. So we have come up with our recommended logistics range when there is additional charges on accommodation and transportation, right? So you can see over here, we also come up with the lowest range that we can go as well as the highest range based on the condition that we minimally need to meet on. So just looking into comms again. So the condition is basically that every volunteer that we have should have a well-ventilated space with a bed definitely to sleep, and then equipped with water and electricity supply. So I think this is the bare minimum condition that we have to provide when it is on accommodation. So I think the lowest to the highest actually ranging from whether if your LC is actually having public universities, then most likely you guys can actually rent the hostel itself, and then it will usually be relatively cheaper compared to the accommodation outside. But if really up to the necessary point where we have to rent Airbnb, then I think this is also the range that we would like to recommend so that it wouldn't go out from the budget and then causes the project to be in loss. So you can see over here if it's hostel, so we are recommending about just 5 ringgit per volunteer per night. Definitely we're not looking into the very fancy kind of hostel, but it's just as long as we can accommodate like our volunteers, and then it is already a safe space for them to rest, then it will be fine. And then for Airbnb wise, also not looking into like 5-star hotels, that kind of thing, but as long as we can try to maintain it within this range of like around just 60 ringgit per volunteer, then I think that would be fine as well. So I think I would say generally this is the highest that we actually look into. And usually I would say for Airbnb, if we have a few more people, then it can be actually split among just about 30 to 40 ringgit per volunteer per night itself. Yeah, so this will be for accommodation. And then looking into transportation wise, the condition is that for vehicles, it can be carried at maximum capacity, just that the circle of contact on like who the people are in the car with should be among volunteers and OC team, and then also keep the mask on to make sure that we actually comply to the COVID-19 SOP itself. So over here, I think the lowest part is just more on if the OC team maybe are using their own transportation, then most likely we are looking into more on reimbursement system according to your particular LC. And then usually averagely it will be about 40 cents per kilometer. So I think over here is looking into also per volunteer per km, because say for example, maybe there are some circumstances that will only be driving one volunteer around, then this is the cost that maybe will be incurred per km. Yeah, so for the highest one, definitely we are looking into Grab. So just to recall back again, usually the range that we can work on hybrid activities is just 15 kilometers, right? So I think over here is also after research that usually during that range itself, the highest that we can go is about 45 ringgit if we are just using Grab for the trip itself. So I think over here is just to highlight also the highest that we can go will be 50 ringgit per volunteer for the entire realization. So I think this is how we come up with the logistics range. Then is also our recommended one so that we can keep the condition and then also on the volunteer standard as well as just to make it a little bit more bearable for our volunteers to join our event as well, join our program itself. So yeah, I think that is actually all for the pricing as well as logistics range. So I'll pass it back to Egypt.
Okay, so thank you, Celine, for explaining our entire pricing. So if you have any questions regarding what have delivered, which is business model, value propositions, and also the pricing and logistics, remember to also put down the questions that you have lah. Yeah. So without further ado, we will move to the next part, which is as you all know that we have LVV program previously, and then right now we are actually changing our brand name, become Malaysian Youth Volunteer, right? So with that, I will pass to Julie to talk more about LVV rebranding. Okay, so yeah, Julie, you can share.
Yeah. Okay. So I think from me about the rebranding part, right? So I think I will just come up with 3 questions here because I think probably people will normally have these 3 questions. Yeah. So I think the first question to address about this will be probably about the why, like why we need to do the rebranding, right? Yeah. So next. Yeah. So I think right now because the name that we have is LVV, right? So it's really specified in terms of the virtual mode. Yeah, so the new name is Malaysian Youth Volunteer will be probably will be more inclusive to on the volunteer mode like virtual, hybrid, or even later if we want to run for physical, it also will be applicable also. Yeah, and it also the name itself, right? It also more accessible to all the youth in Malaysia as well. Yeah, and then the next question will be, so how will the hybrid project will be promoted to the youth? So next thing. Yeah, I think that the first thing that we need to notice, right, is that the hybrid mode is just the piloting project. Yeah, just now you also got all the information, right? So meaning it's not the official product that all LC in Malaysia is running yet. So that's why the hybrid project will be mainly promoted internally, meaning it will be promoted in LC's channel. Yeah, so for example will be Telegram, WhatsApp, UR channel, or lecture blasting, or any kind of channel that LC is managing and also is promoting about the program itself. Yeah, and national social media channel, right? Especially for social media channel, like for example IG, FB, like that. Yeah, we're not focused on promoting hybrid because yeah, I think just now we also mentioned is that LVV is not the main product of OLC yet. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense if we keep telling them, hey, we have the hybrid volunteer here. Yeah, but for example, LCA, right? They don't choose to run the hybrid mode, and they only have virtual volunteer. So the youth in market, in their own market, right? Basically, they cannot join the hybrid mode. But we keep telling them, hey, we are having this, let's join us. Yeah, so it will be very confusing for them in terms of that. So we will not promote it like very massively in the social media channel. But instead, we will have a very minimum promotion about hybrid volunteer. Yeah, and then the second thing will be next thing. Yeah, yeah. So I think we will have the minimum promotion on social media channel, right? But for our website, AM website, and the landing page for OGV, we will communicate on the information about hybrid project transparently there. So when the youth they come to the website, right, they also can see we have 2 mode of volunteer is the virtual and also the hybrid. Yeah, but probably for the hybrid one, we will also have some notice for them like who can join that. Yeah, okay. So I think the last question that we will have in mind will be, so how will the rebranding look like? Next thing. Yeah, so basically we will embed it embed the rebranding campaign into the realization campaign, because you also know right now we are having realization in most of the LC and SU, right? Yeah, so we also will embed it in the national realization campaign for the rebranding part and start educating our customer about the new name. Yeah, so starting from the next re-attraction in summer, then we can already use the new program name. Yeah, so I think that's all for me.
All right. Okay, thank you, Julie, to explain about how are we going to rebrand our LVV become a Malaysian Youth Volunteer to our external customers, which is especially the youth, because they are the main customers that we engage of our program. So I think this part is not only OGV peeps need to be aware, but I think entirely whoever running for this program, you might need to understand like how are we doing rebranding in upcoming summer peak. Okay, so with that, right, yeah, so we have talked about pricing, business model, why are these program exist, and also talking about how are we going to change our brand. So the most exciting part definitely is also the project itself, which is also like how does it going to look like in regarding a hybrid project model, right? So looking into the situations of how Malaysia government have imposed like the latest SOP guidelines regarding like what kind of activities can be done. So we have do some research based on the latest Malaysian government, and as well as look into the capacity of ISAC in Malaysia able to run in physical skill and also physical mode of activity. So we have a different type of activities that normally will happen during realization in IGV project itself. So with that, there are also certain activities that we are not allowing for virtual, not allowing for physical to happen. So the first type of activities that normally in a project will have, at least minimally you will have volunteer engagement initiative, because it also one of the standards that we need to deliver to our customer, like for example training sessions, or maybe that kind of like engagement space, working space, team spaces. So all these volunteer engagement activities, it can happen physically as well. Let's say if your LCs or SU is actually running hybrid project in upcoming summer peak. And then for high school workshop, where it's a educational workshop that involves in teaching high school students, we will not allow LCs or even SU to run physical high school workshop. Indeed, we will run in virtual mode. This is also the reason that the population below age of 18, most of them is not, I mean in Malaysia, not 100% fully vaccinated yet compared to adult, because adult in Malaysia right now, we actually reach 100% vaccination rate as well already, right? So the part that regarding high school workshop, it will be very high risk that we expose to the population that do not fully vaccinated, but at the same time, looking into when volunteers or even OC team go into the high school itself, they will expose to different kind of like soft of risks from the teachers or from the students, because they are the people that go back home and come back to the school every day back and forth, that they will have a certain high risk that they bring the source of infection towards both parties, no matter is ISAC or even for the students itself. So regarding physical high school workshop, it would not happen in upcoming summer peak. And then regarding site visits, like for example, you will have volunteering events in food banks, or even you visit company. Let's say if you have partners that engage in the project, we are allowing physical, but it is in a certain condition where later on I will explain more detail. And then we will have we are allowing the physical donation drive as well. And then also we are not allowing any mass gathering happen through conference or seminar, looking into the crowd that we are unable to control, where the crowd it will be very big, and at the same time we were having different kind of like externals that coming from different kind of area, where it's the things that we are unable to control during realization. So physical conference or seminar would not able to happen. And then promotional activities like such as physical promotion on crowdfundings, or even like promote about your project, like spreading awareness, this kind of like promotional activities will only run in virtual through like social media campaign that you can run in IGV marketing channel, but we will not allow any physical promotion for our volunteers or even OC team during realization period. So with that, right, you can actually click into this hybrid project model to look into more detail regarding on the terms and conditions. Basically in this project model itself, right, you can click in this project model. I think you guys can access. Yeah, so with this hybrid project model itself, right, we also put into like what kind of volunteers profile that we allow for hybrid projects. So the first thing is minimum requirements as hybrid volunteer is should be fully vaccinated individuals that based on Malaysia's acceptable type of vaccination. And then also volunteers are not allowed to travel back home or to other state during realization period, because we want to minimize the risk of exposure from another community. And also the hybrid volunteer must be coming from the LC's market. So these are the part that how are we going to select our hybrid volunteer. So in details you can read it. So we also put down a different kind of like project activity settings, which just now I have briefed like which one can be virtual and which one be physical, but this will go into more detail on what kind of capacity that we are allowing for volunteers engagement activities, and then where should be the location and how will the environment looks like as well. So this will give you a concept on will let you to able to imagine how is it going to look like. Let's say if I'm going to promote my hybrid project to the customers or even to our partners or even for IGV peeps to also understand how are you going to plan your project, but definitely for back office, which is of FL or PM, to also understand how are we going to manage the resources and the capacity that we have in order to make sure that all these hybrid project happen. So you can read in detail like regarding all these project activity settings, and then accommodation settings as well, that just now we already talked about what kind of accommodation types that we have, and then also on the minimum requirements that need to have for accommodation, and also what kind of restrictions that we have for accommodation settings as well. And then looking into transportation settings, like it will be following Malaysia latest government guidelines, and also the SOP regarding how are we carrying how will be the vehicles settings look like, and then what like how many passengers should be in the vehicles as well. So these are the part that we will still continue to update because we are still having the last part, which is physical distancing measures and guidelines, which is coming soon, because the part that physical distancing and measures and guidelines is the part that currently we are still working on like what kind of measures and guidelines that Isaac can actually cover during realization. But at least with the minimum of project activities, volunteers profile, and also accommodation and transportation can let you to do some projection or even imagination on how is it going to look like. Let's say if your LC or SUs are going to make a decision on upcoming you want to run in hybrid project. Okay, so yeah, so with that I'm going back to the main slide. So with that I have done updating every one of you regarding like hybrid project model, LVV rebranding, pricing, and also business model. And then we'll go with the last section before we go into the Q&A. So regarding on the change management itself, it will not just happen in today only, because it will be things that we will continue to make some change management in this especially within these 2 months, which is January and February. So today we actually launched the business model, and then also by this Friday, IGV product team, which is IGV, BD, FL and PM, you will be joining a summer project opening audit L&D space, right? So that will be a space that we will talk more about how can you plan hybrid project, and then what are the minimum criteria in order for you to open a hybrid project, so that for you to and also what kind of condition that we are allowing for LCs or SU to actually open a hybrid project. And then afterwards we will have brand creation as well, where at the same time we will have a LVV rebranding campaign in upcoming this January. And then also at the same time when we launch this hybrid project model launching, right, then we will also have LC to start to plan on your summer project, whether are you going to run virtual or even hybrid, because both will happen at the same time. So IGV peeps, you will start to plan project before our OGV start attraction, because they will need to have project in order for them to promote, right? So with that, if you look into, especially right now, we have a lot of like elections and transition, where it's a transition of a new term. So this is also the part that you will need to take note, that the transition of current to elect, or what kind of information that you get, both of the term that need to discuss together and make decision, and also for upcoming term to also know that, okay, what kind of direction that you are heading for your LCs as well. Okay, so with regarding on the SOP and standards, it won't be in January that to refresh, and also to especially for standards for hybrid, we will only refresh it on upcoming February. Okay, so these are the latest timeline that you may expect what will be the change management that will happen within these 2 months. And then with that, the network education, that the important education touch point that we will have is, we have already, actually your LCVP or even the LCP are already onboarded with the latest change management that regarding this program. So in last Wednesday, so in this Wednesday, we are actually launching the entire business model and the program to either in Malaysia membership, which is every one of you here today. And then in this Friday, your IGV and BD will have opening audit L&D, where we will talk more about how can you open the project, regardless if it's virtual or even hybrid. And then during WNC, specifically for IGV, we will have like opening audit consultancy space as well, for you to, as a touch point, for you to consult more on how to plan a project. And then in upcoming February, you can expect that we will be launching SOP and also standards. Okay, yeah. So with that, these are the most important educational touch point that you can take note, or even for team leaders, you can take note, so that you can bring back this to your members as well. Okay. So with that, you can access to this slide. There are certain FAQs that we have attached here from your team leader previously, or even from the national team like MC team or even EST team, that regarding the FAQ. So you may spend your time to read later on, or even right now, for you to understand, like, okay, there are also some things that we couldn't deliver in this short period of time, but I hope that the FAQ is able to cover the curiosity that you have. Okay, so I think that's it for the entire launching space. So right now we're open for FAQs and also Q&A until 9:58. Then we will close the space at 9:58, so that you can have your time later on. If you have any meetings, or even for the LCVPs, you will go into your commission meeting as well. Okay, so yeah, let's go into Q&A first. Okay, we have received a question. So if an entity wants to run hybrid project, does that mean that all projects need to be hybrid, or we can have both, for example, 2 virtual projects and 1 hybrid project? Yes. Yeah, so it doesn't mean that let's say if you want to run hybrid, then all of your project need to be hybrid. Okay, so we will have certain condition of what kind of project that can go into hybrid project. So it will be updated to IGV product team in this Friday summer project opening audit L&D lah. I think I need someone to type. Okay, thanks. Okay, so if it is a workshop with small groups, 10 to 15 of beneficiaries, disabled or underprivileged high school students, is it okay to have physical touch point with them? Okay, so I think this is the part that I also received some input from some of the VP from IGV when I launched survey. So I think I will share you regarding in this hybrid project model, you can check on slide 6, or you can just look at my screen. So regarding high school workshop, right? So only virtual settings is allowed that I have mentioned just now. But I think for my side, I do also allow exceptional cases, which is let's say if the request of physical activities from school partner. So if the school partner really requested for small scale of physical engagement, maybe such as student circles, like five students in one row, or one-on-one, or even body spaces, it is allowed with strict physical distancing measures and guidelines applied from both school and ISAC upon agreement. So I think this is the part that might be a bit tricky, because we also need to understand how the school actually take physical distancing measures and guidelines for the students to interact with the volunteers as well. I think it's also to protect the rights of the school students, and at the same time it's also to protect the right of ISAC as well, because to make sure that both parties, we won't go into high risk to expose to COVID-19 infection, but suggested to interact with the students in batches, which is let's say if you have 15 students engagement, right? So maybe you have a more smaller group, like five to six students per batch to engage with the volunteers. Yeah. However, from my side, I will still highly not encourage to carry out any physical activity with high school students, because of the reason that they are still not fully vaccinated yet, where it will bring certain high risk here. So I think this is the part that you may need to take note. But regarding more detail, like negotiation with the school partner, I think this is the part that VP, you may approach me to let me know, or maybe this is a part that you can discuss together with MC team, because we will need to look into what kind of situation as well, because it will go into different kind of situation or requests from the partners. Yeah, so just to take note a bit on that. Okay, how would the cost breakdown percentage between IGV and OGV looks like for hybrid? Yeah, I think Celine can help me to answer.
Yeah. Okay. So for this question, I think for this, I would assume it means on LR, meaning that like how it goes if we have profit sharing between IGV and OGV. So I think over here for hybrid, we still maintain it as 60-40, which is 40% IGV and 40% OGV, which is maintained as the current one.
Okay, thanks, Celine. All right, so just to confirm, the name of program will be Malaysian Youth Volunteer, regardless if the mode is virtual or hybrid. Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. Okay, so must accommodation still be provided if the volunteer chooses to stay at his or her home because it's nearby to the working site? It is not, it still need to be provided, because when volunteers go back to home, they were exposed to their family members that might also bring a source of COVID-19 infection. When the volunteers come back to interact with the other volunteers or even the OC team, then it will also bring high risk to our volunteer circle as well. Yeah, so I think this is the part that we will not allow our volunteers or even OC team to go back their home during relaxation period, because it will bring a very high risk to the volunteer circles. Yeah. Will accommodation and food be provided to the volunteers? Okay, I think before we talk about this, provided means be able to find sources for them, but it does not mean covered in terms of the cost itself, which is the expenses. So just to take note, but then whether food to be provided, it will up to OC team, you can decide. And then accommodation is a must that either need to find accommodation, but it does not mean that we will cover for the accommodation expenses when it will be extra charges for the volunteers itself. Yeah. So we are going to next. is there a minimum percentage of physical activities of hours to qualify the project as hybrid volunteering? As long as there is one physical activities, we will consider that as hybrid volunteers already. Yeah. If learning partner allows to have physical workshop and we carry out, does that mean that our learning partner MOA, we will still need to state a clause on COVID responsibilities? Yet that will be the part that we will review on the current agreement that we have to include on any clause that related with COVID-19 responsibilities. Will the volunteers need to go for COVID test before and after RE? Yes, currently in our measures and guidelines, we are looking for volunteers to conduct self-COVID-19 tests, but the fully guidelines and measurements, we will just updated in this hybrid project model regarding physical distancing measures and guidelines. Yeah. Okay, does volunteer have the option to choose between virtual or hybrid? Like, is it possible to run both mode in one project? Okay, I think for this part, let's say today you decide to run project A as hybrid project, which means your volunteer will have to pay for hybrid pricing. So which means whatever service and standards that you deliver, it should be go into hybrid mode where your volunteer would not choose like, okay, this project is hybrid mode, but I want to just pay for virtual fee, or I just want to join virtual activities. So it will not allow. Okay. Between the period after RE and volunteer going back home, will they be quarantining for 7 or 14 days in the accounts that we provided? It will up on the volunteers' decision on whether they want to quarantine themselves after they end the RE or not. So they can decide like, okay, let's say if they want to quarantine because they also do not want to bring the risk back to their family, then yeah, they can make the decision. They just need to communicate lah. Yeah, I think we have one questions regarding branding. Maybe I can pass to Julie to talk about that, to answer about that.
Yeah. Wait, I'm reading a bit. Yeah. I think how external you still likely to find out who you are. Can I confirm my understanding is that you asked how the external youth will know that your LCOS you running the hybrid project, right? Yeah. Just confirm my understanding for the question part.
I think it's more like how do we ensure that only the market of a certain LC that is running hybrid project know about hybrid project, because those markets that is under maybe like certain LC is not running hybrid project, but they found out through like maybe friends or maybe through national web page, then they want to join, but they are like earlier mentioned the branding that those LC is not running, then they will get confused. So how do we ensure that the youth do not get confused? And does that mean that if let's say for OGV side, there's youth that say like, for example, my entity does not have hybrid project, but there's youth that approach us that insisted that they want hybrid project. So what should OGV do? Should we reject them or should we form new LR just to satisfy the lead? Yeah.
Understand. Yeah. So I think for the first concern on how we can communicate about this for the youth out there, right? Yeah. So I think when we promote it on national channel, right, we will also have a small note for them in terms of only those students who from this campus or university can join this kind of hybrid volunteer. Yeah, and the reason we will specify in more in terms of these are only the university will run the hybrid mode and also get the allowance from the university. Yeah, so that is the way that we will communicate when we promote it on national channel and also when we put it in when we put the information on the website. Yeah, and another thing will be let's say if the youth they still like really insist on going for hybrid volunteer, right? So I think the thing that we can do is that we really show them the risk and the reason why we don't encourage that. Yeah, because for example, just now we also mentioned if they go like that, right? For example, the youth from Penang and they want to go for the project in JB. Yeah, so the risk of spreading the COVID case in community is really high, and we not really encourage that. Yeah, so I mean like when we try to show all of the risks and also the from outside, right, we don't recommend it. Yeah, but they still insist to go. Then I think the way forward right now is just like we will reject them. Yeah, because from our side we will I mean like we still stand on not spreading the COVID-19 into those area. Yeah. So are you clear with this, or do you want to follow up something?
Yeah, I think it's clear. Thank you, Julie.
Okay, thank you, Chun.
All right. Yeah. So I think thanks Julie or Celine just now for answering, and also Eugene for helping me to type down. So I think because of the time, I think we have already time's up, but then you may still put out the questions that you have. We will spend later on after this space, we will type down the answers that you have questions here. So you can refer back, and then we also will compile all these questions into the FAQs for every one of you to understand, and also as a documentation. Let's say if you have questions, then you come back here to refer. Okay, so you can still put down because we are still looking. There are still a lot of like questions here, so we will not answer right now because we don't have time, and then we have upcoming meetings as well. So I think that's it for today. Yeah, you can just type down. Okay, we will answer, but try to make your questions as specific as possible in order for the MCs to actually answer your questions lah. Yeah, so you can always come back here to refer whether your questions have been answered or have been updated or not. All right, so yeah, I think with that, I will be closing this space. And I think before we end, I just want to thank for the MC who work for this program respectively, which is Julie, Eugene, Celine, and also me, myself. Okay, yeah, to make this happen, because with this, right, actually there are a lot of like thought process and also working space that we have in order to make all this program happen. So I think with that, thanks everyone for joining, and then I hope that you are excited towards this program, and then we are looking forward for upcoming summer to implement this together with all of the LC and SU here. All right, so I think that's it for today. We'll close this space right now. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining, and then the recording and L&D output will be released soon. So yeah, just keep updated in your functional channel which is your broadcast channel. Okay. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.